Welcome back to another episode of Buying Sandlot. I'm Kyle Pagan with Kyle Scott. We've got a solid episode today talking about a couple companies making equipment access more obtainable for youth sports programs, a youth hockey brawl at a minor league hockey game, and we'll be talking about youth golf participation is growing more than flag football. But before we get into that, we still have early bird tickets for our Youth Sports Business Conference in Philadelphia on April 14th and 15th. Still time to get yours today, as well as some limited VIP attendee tickets. We just released in today's newsletter that Reed Schaffner, CTO of Team Snap, will be there to speak at Ballers, and you won't want to miss that. Reed Schaffner, Kyle, former guest on the Buying Sandlot, friend of the program, Reed Schaffner.
Friend of the show, one of our best guests, super eloquent guy. I think when our editor was going through it, he said to me, this is the most well-spoken person I've ever edited on a podcast. So
no ums, no likes?
No ums, no likes, super smart, super interesting. Yeah, for my money, Reed is definitely one of the most thoughtful, interesting, and impactful people in youth sports, youth sports tech, and maybe sports tech overall. I mean, he's the CTO of Team Snap, which is one of the larger platforms out there, and he's leading the all-new Team Snap One, which we talked a lot about. So excited to have him. Lots of more really good, big name, important announcements coming up, especially over the next couple of weeks. So our speaker list is already impressive, and it's going to be that much more impressive by the third, fourth week of January. Reed is just the first of many. So looking forward to having him and connecting. And if you haven't already, go listen to that podcast with Reed. Really good stuff.
Yeah, and head over to buyingsandlot.com if you want to get those tickets for the conference. So let's get into it. Youth golf participation. They're saying it's growing more than flag football. Youth golf participation in the newsletter today has grown 39% since 2019, according to the Project Play's State of Play 2025 report. It is one of three sports that has enjoyed an uptick in that span, along with tennis at a whopping 51.2% and flag football at 13.6%, which has a lot of momentum right now. Project Play used SFIA's core participation data for the flag growth figure, but the golf and tennis figures are overall participation rates from the National Golf Foundation and USTA. Golf participation grew 64% among ages 13 to 17 between 2019 and 2024, according to Project Play, which outpaced tennis and flag football, though flag grew at a 13% rate among ages 6 to 12. You mentioned in the newsletter, I thought this was pretty interesting. You think these golf numbers may be a little skewed, or I guess it was kind of wondering, how this data was kind of conceived.
Yeah, so it's kind of a shocking number. So if you take, let's just round off here, right? Let's say youth golf participation has grown since 2019, roughly 40%. Mm-hmm. Flag football, it's like 4% for teenagers, and it's like 14% for younger kids. So let's just say around 10%, right? So like roughly 4x golf has grown over flag football, which is kind of shocking because if you talk to anybody in the industry, all you hear about is flag football. How it's the highest growth sport and so much potential. And I think there's a few things here. So one, I actually found it a little bit difficult to believe. I trust the numbers. They are from different sources. I think golf's participation rate comes from like one of the golf associations, and flag comes from a different group. So it's not always an apples. As I'm learning very quickly, a lot of the numbers that sort of quantify the space are not always apples to apples or super accurate, right? Or based on small sample sizes, but let's assume it's directionally accurate. I think there's a couple of things happening here when you kind of think about it though. One, if you look at a chart, and this all comes from Project Play, they pull it together from 2014, 2019, 22, 23, 24, and you look at participation rates from 2019 to 2022 specifically, participation rates in almost every sport dropped. Obviously, in 2020 and 2021, you had the pandemic. Lots of people weren't participating. There were three sports that they list out of like 15 or 18 or so that do not have a decline. And those are golf, tennis, and flag football. Golf and tennis, pretty obvious. These are sports you could play. You do play outside largely, and you're not next to anybody. You don't have to be next to anybody. So they are social distancing proof. Flag football is the opposite, right? You're colliding into people, you're grabbing at them, you're swapping spit, you're often grabbing handfuls of underwear in some cases, right? So like pretty intimate in terms of sports. That actually stayed level and then grew very quickly from 22, 23 and onward. So I would say flag was fighting a headwind. It was already growing. Then it was fighting a headwind of the pandemic, and it just plowed right through that. Golf and tennis were actually aided by the pandemic. You have to consider that when you realize why maybe golf's numbers look so shocking. The other part of that is uh, the golf participation rate, something like nearly half of golf today is played off of a course, right? Be it a Top Golf, an indoor simulator, an outdoor simulator, whatever it is, a driving range with simulator like features like Top Golf. So I don't know how generous the golf participation rates coming from the golf industry are, right?
Yeah.
Am I and we can look into this further, but am I considered a golfer because I played 2 rounds of Top Golf, or because I did a 4 weeknight golf sim indoor league? Maybe it counts, but being on a flag football team is like a different level of involvement and participation. So I wouldn't just assume that the golf growth rate is because kids are joining and playing 18 holes 3 times a week.
Yeah. Couple interesting quotes I thought from the two people that you guys interviewed: David Pillsbury, CEO of Invited Club, and Jennifer Birmingham, the director of golf programming. They both mentioned it's never been more accessible for kids now than ever to get into golf. Why do you think that is? Because you look at golf, I think it's right up there with hockey in terms of like the access, and we'll get to this later on, but the access of equipment, it's pretty tough to obtain, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the simulators, right? So they said all you need is a credit card. You show up somewhere, you credit card, you can rent clubs, and you got a tee and a camera and a screen, and it's easy to play, right? So I think that's it. I mean, that's the reason. Full stop, right there.
So if I go to my local bar and I'm playing Pop-A-Shot, am I technically playing basketball now? Are we gonna?
That's what I'm saying. What are we classifying as a golfer,
okay.
right? Right. The number of I look around and think about all these kids signing up to play, on a 10, 12 person flag football team, whatever it is, for a full season and enjoying it with their friends, and then doing a couple of hours on the golf sim, and they're both a flag football player and a golfer, which is actually like where they're really participating. So yeah, that's the question, right? But either way, I would say if we take a step back, interesting, because from my view, and I think lots of people, you hear a lot about golf is dying. There's not the next Tiger Woods, all this stuff. And then you look at the numbers, and golf is actually still, no matter how you slice it or consider it, still doing well, both in terms of participation, even in some cases in like the ratings and interest levels. So people always want to write off golf because it feels like an old man's game. And then you remember that lots of people, grow up and can only play, turn 30 and you're like, oh, I like golf now. I have to. I can't run.
Yeah, the YouTube golfers haven't hurt that either. I don't know how much you pay attention to those guys, the good guys.
Yeah, Barstool guys.
Barstool.
I mean, some of their most compelling content, I think, has been what those golf guys have done.
Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau is completely. I've done a complete 180 on Bryson DeChambeau since he got on the internet, which is crazy to think about.
Same. Totally one of the few, I would say, pro athletes who creates content that really speaks to the younger audience. My kids have sat down and watched that because he's trying, the same sort of challenge that, not a Mr. Beast, a Dude Perfect would, hitting a golf ball over his house and landing it. And he did it once a day for 45 straight days to get a hole in one. Like, that's Dude Perfect level stuff, and it works. So I think the more other sports embrace that sort of natural format for YouTube, the better they'll do as well. But great poll on DeChambeau. I think he's probably the best example, actually.
Let's move over to equipment access. Equipment access becoming more obtainable just in the last couple of months. It seems to be becoming a trend in 2026. And August Equip Sport, which some call the Uber of used sports equipment, is launching its first operations in North America, starting in Surrey, British Columbia. On the other end, Orgo Partners, which we reported last week in the newsletter, it's a logistics-focused calendar platform. It partnered with nonprofit Good Sports. They partnered to provide equipment to youth sports programs in underserved communities, and Orgo will also donate $5 from each annual subscription purchased to the nonprofit. And then we have other things like PA Senator Joe Picozzi last week introduced a youth sports tax credit for families that I believe was around $3,000. And then a little bit in the past, New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer introduced the Play Act, offering $2,000 tax credits for youth sports expenses. What do you think about this trend of obtaining more access for equipment, which seems to be the most hot button issue and probably one of the biggest things when people talk about entry into sports, like we just talked about with golf.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are about equipment, right? The thing in Canada, which they're basically vending machines, is a few months old.
Yeah.
But they're basically vending machines, where you can rent balls and things like that. And they're I don't know how they account for this stuff, right? It's like the old newspaper racks, right? You
Yeah.
could take one or you could take 100. No one's going to know. You don't have to put a credit card in. I don't know how exactly it works, but you could take
It's
a
just an
ball
app.
out. Yeah, it's like what the bike rental things in New York and
Yep.
London and all those places. So I imagine those are tracked a little bit better than the basketball you pull out. But honesty aside, I guess the city in Canada is paying for it. So like, I mean, none of these stories are all that impactful. The thing Orgo is doing with a good game, super nice, $5 per sub. How much money does that meaningfully include? Who knows? But it's a good headline and a good thing to do regardless. I think what I'm seeing in the stories you just laid out and just lots of conversations and lots of other stories is we're coming out with our 2026 predictions tomorrow, and we'll have James on later this week talk about them. One of mine is the affordability side of things, and regulators, governing bodies, states, the federal government, really thinking more strategically about how to help support the cost of youth sports. So I think these are just examples of a broader trend, which is whether it's through donation or tax credits or grants or subsidies, whatever it is, I think we're going to hear lots and lots of ideas about how to make youth sports more affordable at all levels of the stack, from local municipalities all the way up to the federal government. There's no shortage of reporting now about how expensive things are. And it goes well beyond just equipment. A lot of it is just participation in general. The cost to enter tournaments, get good coaching, ice time, rink time, court time, whatever it is expensive no matter how you slice it. And if you're not able to sort of, go punch for punch on dollars, kids will get left behind to some extent. And, a lot of the greatest athletes weren't rich growing up. In fact, lots were very poor. So we need to make sure it's still accessible for those kids. So I think we're going to hear a lot about this. And it's something at the summit we want to talk about a lot too, is, hey, what is being done? And I think the industry would largely wind up being happy with a lot of these initiatives, because it's not about really decreasing the costs. It's about government subsidizing participation or equipment. And so the businesses are going to win because that money is going to come to them anyway in lots of cases. I think that's why you see this youth sports business community so supportive of these efforts in many ways. Obviously, they do give money back in spots, but it's a win for the whole environment. And I would look no further. I think the best example, if you want to really take this to the extreme, is the government subsidizes student loans in college, right? Who's benefited from that? Colleges, right? They can charge whatever they want. And this is why tuition rates have gone up so much over the last 20 or 30 years, is because no bank is on the hook. The government will, cover your $250,000 Ivy League, gender studies degree, and the colleges can charge. So, on a smaller, hopefully more balanced scale, I think the youth sports industry will benefit if the government is willing to subsidize and provide tax grants. And you can make the argument for society that's all very good too, because the kids who play sports are healthier. A whole list of positives of playing sports: lower insurance costs, live longer, all that stuff.
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting. It feels like a no-brainer for any politician out there. I mean, even just introducing a bill gets you a nice little headline in the newsletter, or get you some good favor. And it's a very bipartisan, I would say, definitely bipartisan angle there.
It's one of those few things where, like, it's bipartisan. Everybody agrees. Voters on both sides of the aisle agree. We go back to the thing. Black Bear was the sponsor of our newsletter today, I should say, but there was a story a couple of months ago about, them requiring customers to use their cameras for streaming. And the story was largely misreported initially. And then we I think, brought some balance to the force on that one. It was mostly about the live streaming, which they've, invested to put these cameras in their facilities and all that. But both far left and far right outlets ran with the most sort of salacious version of the story. How private equity bad, youth sports, expensive. So it's a super bipartisan bill, and nobody really loses here. Government subsidized things. It's good for society. It's good for businesses. It's good for the politician. It's one of the few rare win-win-wins there, I think.
Yeah, one we didn't mention, I know you wanted to touch on a little bit, RCX Sports. They've been helping out with this a little bit too. How
Yeah,
so?
they announced partnership today in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and I think Missouri with the YMCA there. I don't know if there's a money changed hands, but basically they're going to work with those organization Parks and Recs in PA and Michigan and YMCA's in Missouri for programming, coaching resources, things like that. And so I think underserved communities can get access to the RCX programs, which include things like MLS Flag, MLS Go, these kind of premium branded, along with the Pro League programs. And I think, again, just add it to the list of examples of people thinking about accessibility.
Yeah, there are a lot of headlines right now around the country of people making youth sports more affordable and equipment more access. Anything else you got before we move on to one of my favorite stories of the episode?
No, I'm just really surprised we've made it 16 minutes in. You haven't commented on my best yet. I'm like,
I know.
Sorry, that's super disappointed.
That's actually, I know you worked very hard to print out a Buying Sandlot logo and tape it to your chest. Is that a Peter Millar 2022?
This is the 2022 Peter Millar.
2022.
This is like, I mean, this is how you bring a social clip full circle. This is it. This is the one.
It is.
This is the one. This is the one.
It looks nice. I mean, it's
a great vest. It's a multi-purpose vest. You can wear it to a Jeffrey's conference. You can wear it to school. We didn't get our sponsorship yet, so I had to just tape our logo on here.
I like that. I like that. No free ads until they come across the aisle.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We have to blur out the Peter Millar, saying the Peter Millar in the early in this episode.
I'm just trying to win over the PE guys in our audience. That's really it. Although I think for them, the Peter Millar is like the vest you do yard work in, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's some other brand there that I'm definitely not rich enough to know about that they wear to the conferences and work. The Peter Millar is like, doing some mulch outside. I'll throw on the 2022 PM for the day.
You're on the low corporate jet right now. You have to get up to the Gulf Stream. We're trying to get you to the Gulf Stream.
This is like the fractional jet of vests.
You're sharing this with a couple other companies right now, and you guys got to get on the calendar when you want to use it, when you want to take the family down to Florida.
Yeah, there's a guy across the street as a work conference next week. I got to let him borrow the vest. We have an app. We're coordinating vest use.
We're doing fractional shares of your Peter Millar vest. I like this.
Hey, there's a little ketchup on the bottom. Was that from your work conference, bud? Why don't you clean it up? Paying insurance on this thing.
All right, let's get over to my favorite story of the episode: a youth hockey brawl in Hershey, Pennsylvania, only a couple hours away from where me and Kyle reside. A line brawl actually went mega viral over the weekend during intermission of the Hershey Bears game. You've seen it before, the Mites on Ice, but this one's great because it's got a little bit of twists and turns. A bunch of 8U players from the Central Penn Panthers were involved in what was later called a staged fight by the Atlantic Amateur Hockey Association, and now has launched multiple investigations from both the league and the hockey club, and ended up being written about in the New York Times. Apparently, there were no officials on the ice. If you do see the video, you can obviously see that, while coaches and parents are also on the bench. Even the Hershey Bear looked mortified. He looked like he didn't even want to get near that mix. He was the only one really.
He was the only animal positioned to break it up. I wish he was a black bear. It would have been a perfect tie-in with black bear. And
that's true.
And the sponsor today. I think the Hershey Bear is a brown bear. I don't know.
Yeah. The funniest part, I think, is this isn't even the first fight during a Hershey Bears Mites on Ice promotion this season. So what I'm thinking, and I know James was thinking that it was kind of crazy to think that a bunch of 8-year-olds would get together and they would stage a fight. I think this is the complete opposite. We're talking about Central Pennsylvania, man. If a video goes viral in Central Pennsylvania, the talk of the town in Central Pennsylvania, the small towns, are all about, hey, listen, we've got a Mites on Ice promotion coming up in a couple weeks. Guess what we're going to do? We're now going to stage a fight. Because if you look at it, the punches were pulled. Nobody really landed. Everybody just jumping on each other. Do you think people landed?
I don't think the punches landed, but I mean, listen, I think the social media reaction, there's a clear line between the people who have young kids and the people who don't. People who don't have young kids are like, this is awesome, this is the best thing ever viral clip. If you're a parent of like an 8-year-old, you're like, dude, those skates cut people. And you got a goalie just jumping on top, full bore jumping on top of people. I mean, like, this is how kids get hurt. I don't know, it was bad. It's not the punching. You can punch I'm the only guy in the world who ever got punched in a mask playing hockey and broke my wrist, right? It's a true story. You may be able to see there's a plate in there and there's the scar. I got punched in the face.
So a kid punched you broke your wrist.
Yes. Yeah. Roller hockey. I was like 22 just out of college, playing in roller hockey league, skirmish, 8 seconds to go. Sort of guy roughed up our goalie. I gave him a little shove. I was an ice hockey player my whole life, and then I'd switched to rollers. Like my first season playing roller. I'm less sure on roller skates than I was on ice skates. So I just sort of shoved the guy away from the goalie. He just sucker punches me in the mask, right? No damage to the head, right? It doesn't hurt to get punched in a mask, but it knocked me off my skates and I landed on top of my wrist. Broke, really like the distal radius or whatever. I got 9 screws in there. I will note that we got matching roughing minors. I served 9 seconds of the minor and went through the handshake line with a very visibly broken right wrist. So anyone ever doubts my tough guy card, that's it.
What a warrior. I thought you were going to tie this together because I thought you were going to be like, yeah, I was 8 years old playing on, ice hockey.
I was an adult.
You're 22 and you had to go into your job the next day and be like, yeah, the cast is from a roller hockey incident. Yeah, I like to play on Mondays.
I went to work for 3 days with a splint and painkillers, and surgery was on Friday. Surgery, that was.
Oh,
but to bring it back to the kids, it's not the punches that are dangerous. Like those kids were really on top of each other, and it was getting out of hand. So whether the kids cooked it up or the parents to try to make something go viral, you're right. In Central PA, like they're angling for a Good Morning America appearance, right? Enough parents are like, hey, we're gonna go to New York for the day. We're gonna be famous, and they're gonna realize it doesn't actually make anybody any money, and could get a kid sliced. Like we should probably put some under the parents behaving badly category, because it probably wasn't all the kids. And if it was, like, some parent get on the ice and break it up.
That was the crazy
part. Went on
part.
way too long.
Way too long. It went on so long that I was like, how, like, because I feel like I've seen this at the Flyers before, and it's always like, maybe not an official, but like at least the people who like shovel the ice, like there'll be like 4 or 5 of them on there. There was 8, 9, 10 kids and one Hershey bear.
22-year-old marketing intern was like, I'm not breaking my wrist over this one.
Yes.
Staying
out. No insurance for him.
Yeah, I'm out. Part-time employee. I'm a contractor.
I don't know. I still think it was the kids that were doctoring this up, because like you see it with the 6-7 trend. You got 2 kids. They see something online. They're like they just want to be a part of the most popular online trend. And I just think they saw their buddies probably from another a Mites hockey team doing a line brawl at the Hershey Bears game, and they were like, you know what? We want a story to tell. The crowd was yucking it up. The crowd loved it.
Hershey Bears crowd is a fight crowd.
The
they used to be a Flyers affiliate. Yeah, they're a fight crowd. I don't know, man. It's going to play out elsewhere. I mean, I don't know. It's
but we can agree on this. No disciplinary action for the kids. Like just a little slap on the wrist, make them do a little bit of Herbies, skate a little bit extra during next practice. I don't want there to be, nobody should be suspended. They might never be asked back. I don't think they'll ever be asked back.
Good learning opportunity. Let them have some fun. Maybe punish the kid whoever lost the fight, or actually the kid who was fighting his teammate, punish him.
Yeah. So there's nothing else much to do up there in Lancaster. So let the kids be kids. That was fun. I enjoyed that over the. It went super super viral.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, it is one of those few things that most of the stories we cover, like, there's not many or hardly anybody or nobody else covering them. But this is one of the ones that happened on Friday. I'm like, well, this is like in our wheelhouse, sort of. It's not really, it's one of the things we'll show in the newsletter because it's funny, but like, we got nothing here. We're beat by the entire 24/7 news cycle on this one. This isn't news to anybody who reads Buying Sandlot.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. We got our predictions, 2026 prediction post, a little bit overdue, coming up this week. So we'll talk about that with James on the podcast. Lots of trends. I think that hopefully the best service we do at Buying Sandlot is pull together all these stories from around the country. Sometimes they're small little partnerships, or it's an ice rink being built here or whatever. But we're able to like see it all and like tie together all the data points and identify some of the trends. That's what we do in our takes. So the predictions post will really try to tie together a lot of the trends we're seeing or think we'll see this year. And hopefully it's helpful to people. So I would keep an eye out for that in the newsletter.
Yeah, 100%. Subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, and subscribe to the newsletter, and follow us everywhere you can. Just stay up to date on these trends. that are happening all around the country in youth sports. And we'll talk to you on Wednesday.